Hey, we're here today with the Mr. Meakin. Hello there.
Good evening, Karen. Yeah. Nice to meet you, mate.
Adam.
Always freaks me out
And James is still here with me. So
Hi.
yeah,
Hi.
James is saying hello for the video. Yes, Adam. Been ages since we've had a long chat. The dog's gonna start moaning. She's been out for a walk, she's fed and happy, she's just gonna start whinging down there. She sleeps with me most nights because it's the only way to keep her quiet.
Oh, I got a dog recently, which was nice. We got a little.
I don't know. I don't want any more pets after Floss. Floss is lovely, but they're so they need so much, money spent around them. I just do.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I've had her for 9 years, so And she's lovely, but she thinks she's a human. Like she's gonna not stop. Shut up, Floss! You're ruining our hangout. She's only the size of a rabbit.
They are.
Anyway.
I've just got a dog. We got one end of August, September. Little rescue dog. Yeah, and she's part of the family now. But yeah, they are.
What's her name?
Phoebe.
Phoebe. Mine's Floss.
Phoebe and Floss. I like it.
Floss is on my sun and moon. I'm not using that icon today, but sometimes I can get up and I've got Floss on there looking. I put it up there because I was having a hangout with RV Truth, and he loves dogs. He loves Floss. So I stuck it up there for that.
Yeah.
Anyway, so life's changed a bit. So you're in Nottingham then?
Yeah, always have been. Like I say, most of the time in there, and
sometimes we don't check where we all live because I live down near Reading.
Yeah, I knew you were a bit further south than me. South.
Yeah, I'm between Bristol and London.
Yeah. On the north west.
In my M4, summer lift on the M4, and I'm halfway between Bristol and London, but Heathrow's about 45 minutes away.
Oh, I got you.
So, what have you been doing then?
Well, kind of moved on from Iron Realm, so we've parted ways, shall we say? So I'm just kind of pimping around.
Being Adam Meakin.
yeah, just being me, going around on, doing stuff like this, enjoying freedom.
You were quite busy, weren't you, the last few years with conferences and all sorts?
Yeah, I mean, I'd still be if life had returned to normal, and those things were on. I mean, I still want to do all those things. It's just more I'm going to be. I mean, not necessarily looking to make a new channel. I think there's plenty of contacts and people and friends out there that I can, if I've got anything to say, I've got a format to say it. So I'm just going to carry on.
What I'm doing, because YouTube is the only place I see enforcing the Lyris. So they're the ones that keep trying to strike me and do things. So I've actually gone to Library, but that mirrors my YouTube channel. And I go to BitChute, and they said that would mirror my YouTube channel, but I seem to be uploading the videos there. So I'm going to a few different platforms, but they all seem to link back to YouTube. I wanted to get away from YouTube because they're so vile. They're so vile. I'm sorry, they are.
Well, it's starting, isn't it? The migrations are happening. I think it's just finding one alternative. But you see a lot of people now. You'll see most people use YouTube as because they know they can't put the full video up because it'll just get taken down.
Do you know Vertex? Do you know Vertex?
Yes, yeah.
I forget the channel Odyssey, I think it is. He told me about. Is it Odyssey? Oh, let me just check on my I can tell you. He said another one to me, so he told me to go and check this one out. So we're all trying to get away from. He wants to get away from YouTube, I think.
Yeah, like I said, I think it's hard to get away. It's great, but
it's a great platform. I love Odyssey. It's called Odyssey. Yeah, Odyssey.com. It is a great platform. I just don't like them.
No, exactly.
What happened, Adam? I'll explain something very quickly. I don't want to be too long because it's like I get the violin out and we get the little strings out. I didn't go to one of the marches in September, and I wanted to go, but for various reasons I didn't. But what I did was I took RT News's footage and I used that. Well, last week I got a strike for that, for medical misinformation, but RT's fine. They've had 263, well, when I last looked, 1,000 people. They live streamed it and they get paid for it. They're fine. They're doing really well. YouTube have done nothing about that. I took it off their feed, a news feed, and I'm annoyed about that because RT News just put the day out. They didn't change anything. You know what the news is like, but they didn't. So we don't want them not reporting that there was a freedom walk and stuff like that. But so they didn't do anything wrong that day, RT News. But I get striped for medical misinformation when they're still streaming it. How biased is that from YouTube?
Well, it's the hypocrisy of it. It's
Yeah. I actually made a video about it because they didn't want to listen to me. So I've made a video, but that made me think, well, you treat me like that with that much disrespect and keep trying to get rid of my channels and I'm not really doing anything, then I need to go somewhere else. So that's sort of what's happening. I won't let go of YouTube, but I should be putting my stuff on other channels now because I've had enough of being treated like that by YouTube.
yeah, and like I said, that's what I'm saying. I think a lot of people just stick it up as an advert channel now. So if you want to put something pertinent up, or that you know is going to get that kind of response from YouTube, all you can do now is put a link to one of these alternative sites.
I have my thing on
way,
YouTube now goes library, BitChute, my other channels. I've got 3 channels. 2 of them were started because of the original channel. When we got striked, I started one channel and I started another. They're still there, but they've done something to one of them that hardly anybody goes to. You know what I mean? It's so low algorithm, nobody finds it unless you have a link to it. So I think that's unfair, where people just pour these silly videos up and they get thousands of views. We're not on the same platform as them, not really. We're on the lower platform. They've got us down the bottom. And then Sun and Moon, they kept writing to me, telling me how well I was doing, and I was spending a lot of time, I was putting a lot of videos on there, and then comes the strikes, which stops me putting stuff out on the channel, which is just so annoying. And the Unscrambled Channel I started because I was sick of seeing it was the Watts case. All roads lead back to the Watts case. It's not a case you have to get involved in, but it was a case that happened, and I noticed that things were really wrong in the case. All the footage, the people, the timing, everything. They weren't like today. They were like, I think they used footage from years ago, but we're so stupid, we don't notice. You know, hairstyles wrong, everything was wrong, the footage was wrong. And then at the end of that, I realised the police were involved, the judges were involved, the courts were involved, the prisons were involved, the media was involved, whether it's the papers or the media, and the politics was involved. And that was through that case.
So you're saying we haven't spoke for a while, but these little bits like that you always keep spotting, and I have been pimping your channel as well, because you've had some great spots. I like the one. I love the one with the masks and the cold air. That was one of the first. You were one of the first channels I saw to actually highlight that, really. And I was just sharing with the guys on Flat Earth Debate, the one you done with Neil deGrasse Tyson, the magic velocity.
Yeah, that wasn't my video. That one comes from Effed Up World. Sometimes, I mean, he's into what he's into, but sometimes he makes these really funny videos, and I just like his sense of humor. So I just think it's great. I just copy his stuff. He doesn't mind. I've got certain channels I can go and copy their stuff off.
That was funny anyway, mate. It was a great spot. Great spot.
Yeah, magic. I thought that was so funny. It's good. It's good because we have to find the sense of humor in all this, because that's what we're left with, isn't it?
That's it, isn't it? Gotta laugh.
If you don't laugh, we'll go mad.
Well, yeah, they're trying that, so keep laughing. That's the best thing.
Yeah. So you're working then?
Yeah, still work. Little bits.
I know, such a strange place. So basically, I know we're going to be locked down till about April because I'm self-employed and they've been sort of giving me odd grants. But, well, when they've taken all my work away, well, I don't know how else I'm supposed to live. But what? It ends in April. So what? We open up and then everybody forgets we've been locked down for a year and everybody's lost their business, like me. You know, I was working. I haven't worked for a year now because of this thing.
It's a farce. I mean, how they go? I don't know, mate. It's a farce.
Do you know what, Adam? I had my own little thing. I never relied on anybody. I was working the whole thing, and now it's the other way around because obviously all my jobs went, you can't come in, and that was it. I lost all my work overnight, and then we got into a lockdown.
And all I'll just say there is they say that they're going to remember a year ago it was going to be for 3 weeks to save the NHS. That was the purpose of the lockdown, and we're a year
Well,
on
they
now.
started
So,
clapping the other
yeah.
week. I didn't notice them this week, but they were starting to clap out there again, and I thought, oh my God.
The thing to remember with the NHS, over the last decade at least, every time we get to December, they've reached crisis point, and each year they make more and more cutbacks, take away more and more wards, more and more beds. So percentage-wise, it looks like a crisis all the time.
False justification is the
this is it,
and that's why I've got no faith in getting to Easter and everything going back to normal. There's a little carrot that's being dangled. Be subservient, be good for another month or so, and everything will be back to normal. But
yeah,
I'm hearing that so long that, frankly, it's not plausible anymore.
I,
and what will normal be? Like Karen
This
said,
is the normal, isn't it?
Yeah, how do we return back to what it was like? Like I said, everything's been decimated, except the big corporations, you know.
Who can sell clothes and sell everything fine? They're okay selling it all, but the other shops aren't.
The small independent traders are the ones that are hit most, because eventually you'll end up with get one state-owned supermarket. You won't have a choice, and then they will dictate what you can and can't do.
And I say, oh, we can't get the food in.
Well, we live in a world of that nursery rhyme, there's a hole in my bucket, dear Liza, which is circular reasoning. Before all this nonsense started, it's like, well, if you've had the jab, what are you worried about? You obviously believe in it and think it's going to keep you safe, so why are you worried? So that makes no sense. There's no logic to any of these arguments and things. It's just circular reasoning.
False promises is
You can almost guarantee when we get to September there will be same as last year. As the weather changes, we
2024 this is going to go on till.
Yeah, we start losing the daylight, and then there'll be something back each time they relax things. There's less and less and less. And unfortunately, I think we're very much in the reality that it's going to take people to be personally affected by close family members dying before they think, hang on a minute, something that doesn't add up with any of this. That's the sort of grim reality of in the external world.
It is. I don't like
depressing, isn't
it? Sorry, carry on.
I have to say, it's just depressing, isn't it? See, it brings the mood down thinking about where we're at.
Well, no, we're smiling, we're happy, but yeah, it is like that because I mean, my whole life's changed now, and I've got to, Anyway, we can move on from that one if you like. What about some things that you're doing?
Shall I? I'll promise you a bit of music, didn't I? So, shall I try and share screens?
If you want to, yeah. Oh, do you want? Oh my God, I'm a bit of a mess. I am. Let me just put my hair up so I'm looking a bit more tidy. I've got to get a hairband. 1 second.
No,
I've got no hairbands. I'm looking a real mess otherwise.
I'm not singing live. This is
No, I understand.
One of the things I'm having fun doing, so
Get this right again.
That's what you've got to do. You've got to find things that you find fun. James has been out doing my garden.
Yep. It was nice today. Went up to, according to the phone, went up to 12 degrees. The sun came out. They had a red robin for company, blackbirds about, and that helps them get the insects and or grubs and things they're after, because it's that time of year where they're starting to nest and they've got young coming. Poor old blackbirds are like flat out the whole time it's daylight. Both parents going off collecting food for their young.
Put our camera on for a moment so you can see me and James. But it affects the broadband, so that's why I don't. Is it going to do it? I can see your icon. We'll put you on there in a moment. Come on then.
Yeah, no worries.
The camera should be on. Look.
It's lagging again.
It'll come on in a minute, but I have put the camera on.
You don't want my camera on. My ears are right, masters. It is up. I've got
Okay,
really
well,
long hair now as well. That's the difference from.
Good morning, Nathan.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. There's me, and there's James.
I'm here somewhere. Where's the camera?
Oh, yeah, he's laggy.
We're in my little office, my little prison.
Hi,
There we
James.
are.
Oh yeah.
Okay, I'll put that off. Right, I'm going to back to you now, just so you can see us.
So yes, this is not me. I think if you go to my channel, you can hear me singing. It's shocking. Did a bit of that with Roxanne at the beginning of the lockdown, just to keep spirits up. I was having a giggle, doing a bit of YouTube karaoke. But this is a bit more serious. The Chocolate's saying, you may have seen on the debates, and he's quite a good rapper. So he did this tune. So I've been practicing with Adobe. So we've kind of put this together.
Oh, go for it then. Play it.
You should hear Brenda.
Let's hear creation.
Tell me if you can't hear it, but you should hear Brenda first.
Good morning, Nathan. Morning.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, just turn it up a tiny bit.
I think we're up. I think it's up. It's just coming through the thing, so it won't. It is up full. Yeah, it is up full. Here you go then anyway, so I'll leave it to play and I'll mute up.
Good morning, Nathan.
Oh, Brenda. I know who that is. Oh, we can't hear it.
You can't hear it?
Oh, we can now.
Who's on mute?
See, you're only hearing it.
You can't mute yourself. You have to leave your microphone working.
Ah, right. Well, that was only text anyway, so I'll try and turn the mic. Get it nearer.
We'll turn ours off for a moment.
You ready then?
Go for it. Leave your microphone on.
Yeah. I love this. Here's 2020. Chocolate scene. It's coming at you. Yep. My squad blazing through like road arson. This y'all get dished, annihilated off the list of a long line of brokers who will just insist we're living on a spinning ball that does not exist. As I sit back and wonder why they persist, like some pissed gorillas living in the mist, always lacking evidence, they just get dismissed. But here's the twist, they won't cease and desist. Their illegal activities seems all they got are fallacies, begging the question and never seen. Please claiming flat earth is only arcade while you sit back and paint this mosaics and Aristophanes. Like what the fuck, bro? It seems profound. 2,000 years and still like 6 to the ground. Meanwhile, what's really going 6 feet deep is the value of your radius. It's RIP. Rest in peace to your little RADIUS. It's just a fantasy. Can't you see that your little globe theory is about to be in the fucking GRAVE? Come on. Keep it moving. Yeah, I'm really trying to ascertain how insane it is to endure the pain that would make a grown man out loud exclaim that a body of water could somehow maintain the outside of a ball. Now that's insane. Even Isaac Newton said that he would not feign a hypothesis for this bullshit campaign of a force that's only a force in your brain. Don't complain, cause I'm not trying to pull your chain. This ain't no game, it's often claimed with thoughts in vain to not go against the grain. This house profane, the cartoon world will not sustain. Its reign has been now deemed as inhumane. Me and my fam only want to help you be the team and reclaim your sense of home in your domain. Your life has been spent on the top of a plane, yeah. But 2020 really seems the case. Heliocentrism as it starts to race. Globetrotters scrambling just to keep the pace while still telling folk tales about outer space. Kind of funny you think NASA really got your back. Astronauts in the vacuum, well, that's all a knack. The fact they only do it to control your mind and to not see through it, you must be blind. In due time, it will all soon be revealed. Little water ball is losing its mass appeal. On the real, doesn't matter how bad you feel. Fact of the matter is that your face been sealed. Death of the globe model is now at hand. People seeing through the lies all across the land, from Eli to NY to Jin in Japan. It's a rap time to throw the magic ball in the can. Come on.
Yay! Very good.
Yeah, shout out Chocolate saying.
What, you're on that one, or that's one of his songs, and you played it?
I've just done the video there, so
That's very good.
I've got another one for you later on as well, but I'll save that till later. But yeah, so I just saw Chocolate's music and the likes.
So have you got into different things now? Is that what you're saying? You've got to find other things to get into.
Oh, I'm having fun here and there. I mean, everybody's journey is different, isn't it? I've really enjoyed, from the Flat Earth tour to stuff, engaging with people as well. And I say that's why it's kind of hard. You can't get out there now and do
yeah, you're Mr. Experiment Man, aren't you?
I did a bit of that as well. Done a bit of that, but it's weird now. So I'm just enjoying chilling. I'm enjoying going on Discord a lot as well, just chatting in 24/7.
Way, Mr. Meakin's coming.
Yeah, it's cool, man. It's just like there's so many flat earthers now, you know, and not all of them, Karen, have been around, you know, as long as we have, simply. You know what I mean? So it's good just to chat and give advice and some of the.
That's why I like, you know, having my hangouts, because obviously the people come and talk on our hangouts. See, that's the good point. We're like trying to be like a bit like a community. I mean, I don't know. I think if someone kept saying to me, "Do you want to come on a hangout?" I'd say yeah, but I make the hangouts. It's different. You see what I mean? I like making them. It's good, and it's good to know that you're doing other things. It's good to hear what our community's doing. Thank you.
Well, the other big thing that's occupied is the Black Swan, which is like it's called a modus tollens, so it's an application of logic. If you let me share screen again.
Because what people might not know is we've been friends for years, and you've been on my hangout before, and we do keep in touch a bit. But it's good to actually have you on a hangout again.
It's been a while, hasn't it? I think you've been
doing conferences and things, haven't you? You've been doing other things.
Well, we did the conferences, going there. I was filming for Iron Realm there, and then went on the Flat Earth tour of Europe. I did the Italy leg, the infamous Italy leg, where you might assume you get beat up by Italian police at the Colosseum. But I mean that was fantastic. Just going round, setting up, and just chatting to people about Flat Earth, all those beautiful tourist places. Where did we go? Venice, San Marino, Rome, Pisa, Milan. So yeah, really good fun, that one. So I've always enjoyed that, and I'm obviously on Ballbusters as well, which is
Ballbusters.
Yeah, so that's Quantum Erasers channel, which is just like me, QE, Nathan Oakley, Chocolate saying, Arwin. We'll just go through.
Arwin subbed to Sun and Moon the other day. He spotted us and subbed.
That'll be when I was showing him that video. You see, that's why I was showing.
Right.
So we do that.
What it is if people don't realise, Adam likes the Neil deGrasse Tyson magic.
Made me chuckle. Did make me laugh.
It is magic, isn't it? Just evil magic.
Just total. But yeah, funny. But so yeah, the other thing I'm doing really is I'll share it with you. Bear with me.
No, because you did some moon testing, didn't you?
I've done those. Yeah, they're all out. The moonlight tests. But I'm engaging. Like I said, I don't necessarily go into the big troll chat rooms, but certainly the people come on into Discord and that. And this is the big thing we're pushing at the moment. I don't know if you've seen it, which is called the Black Swan. So this is a picture. I'll just go to the picture first. It's a bit bigger.
I see what you mean. They look like a bit like swans.
Well, the reason it's called a black swan is there's the old saying, all swans are white. Now, if all you've got, you make a statement like that, all you've got to do to disprove that is show one black swan. Yeah. So therefore, the statement "all swans are white" is demonstrated to be incorrect. So that's kind of where it got its nickname from. But this is an observation taken from 1 foot above sea level. And as you can see, these two platforms are at 6 miles and 9 miles. And this is always where we used to look at ball stuff, Isle of Man stuff back in the day and all that. We were taking all
with P900.
Yeah, all this.
Sandra.
I think this is a P900 shot. So the point of this here is it's to use their defined statements against them. And like I said, for me, this is the best ball killer at the moment. If you look at the picture, can you see where the horizon is?
Same play.
It's right in the background. It's way behind the last platform. If you see, I'll just make it bigger again. Yeah. So you can see here, look, it's behind. Yeah. So now the horizon is defined as an arbitrary point where the sky appears to meet the ground. But in their model, as you know, it is the leading edge.
I picked up a meme about that. If it was curving, we should be looking down. Everything would be down there because it's curving away.
Well, that you do have to start to look down, and that's part of their. Yeah, you're looking over something now, included in all their maths, but fundamentally to them, and why they've always stated to us is they've always stated to us that this horizon is Earth curvature. Ships go over Earth curvature, don't they? They go over the curve, and that's why we can't see them. So what we've done here is take a thing called modus tollens, which is a logical syllogism. So, for example, if P, then Q. So if you can show it's not Q, you can therefore make the statement it's not P.
And the strange thing is that it's the other way around. So you can see why concavers love it, because in a sense, the horizon, it isn't going up because it's going across, but they can say it's going up.
Well, the same applies to concavers. If you look at that the reason that the ground is higher in the distance is due to perspective. Concavers would be subject to the same level of the horizontal horizon. We'd say with the ball it should be curving down, or they would have to demonstrate the same curving up, wouldn't they? But for me,
and also the really annoying thing when you get to there is you get into this. Do you know Wise Up? He does all the mirroring, and there's a mirroring effect out there, and you just cannot get past it, and it just happens in the sea, whatever it is, and then that's what's happening.
They're sorts of things, where you get mirroring, they're the sorts of things where they'll start to bring in effects like looming and all these sorts of things. But on this date, it's lovely and clear. There isn't really any mirroring effect. All you've got is a point of dissolution, of optical resolution, which
you don't even know how far you're seeing. And look how many miles of compressed sea there is.
So the important thing is that we can say, look, that we can say that we're at 1 foot above. And the first platform is 6 miles away. The second platform is 9 miles away. But we can't say how far it is, but we can say it's more than 9 miles away, that horizon, because it's higher than the last platform. So with that in mind, then if the horizon is the leading edge of the ball, which is blocking our view, and that's why that line's there, that their definition, not ours, then if we take their geometry, we can make the statement that if the Earth is a sphere with a radius of 3,959 miles, P, then every horizon distance to the measurement must be no more, and this is geometric, than 1.225 times the square root of the observer height in feet, Q. Right? Now, it can be less than that because of things you were saying in terms of mirroring, other atmospheric reasons, but it can't be any more than that because this is a geometrical, physical limitation, i.e. the edge of the physical ball. Yeah. So if we accept then, but what we have here, look, is at 1 foot observer height, we should not be able to see, if you do the maths, any further than 1.25 miles, yeah, before we start to have our view interrupted by this physical obstruction, their horizon. Yeah, but we can clearly see that it's be further than 9.4 miles. So therefore not Q. Therefore the Earth can't be a sphere of radius 3,959 miles. Right? Now, that's profound enough in itself with the visual imagery, which anybody can go down to the beach, replicate to some degrees or other, maybe not that far, maybe short, but you'll still prove a black swan. You'll still show it's outside of these geometric limitations. And you know, I'm a bit of a maths geek, Karen. So what I did do is I took the maths and backworked it into this, because this is the irony. If they're saying the horizon, okay, is your geometric curve, you see this point C, this is what they're saying it is. Look, this is the point of intersection where you can no longer see below from your line of sight from there. So if you take that and backwork the maths, then, and I've been a little bit sarcastic here, look, tired of not knowing what size of ball you're on today? Simply observe your distance to the horizon, input the observer height, and as if by magic, instant peace of mind, yeah, you're given what size of ball you're on today. Now, this is the mad thing, because the way the mechanics, if you take a ball and you've got, if we just called it 10 miles, that horizon distance, which is in that image there, and we can probably say it's a lot further than that. If you just take it as just 10 miles, then your R value, your radius value for your ball Earth that day is actually the same distance from here to the moon in their model, 64,000 miles. That's how big their R value grows from 3,500 to 264. And
they've got a lot of room to play around in that, haven't they?
Well, that's the implications of it. It's how farcical it is that if you, and for years they've been mugging us off that the horizon is the leading edge of their ball, and that's what ships disappear over. If that's the case,
well, you know what Mr. Tyson says, don't you? And that famous bit that everybody loves, but I did put it out, but it is copyrighted. But basically, he said when they go up in the ISS space station, because it's so big, they can't see the ball. They just see it just looks flat to them, and you think, what? But then they always show us a ball, don't they? So it's always crazy that.
I'm still waiting for these images of this oblate spheroid, this pear-shaped Earth that deGrasse quotes him. It's not on a ball, we're on an oblate spheroid, looking all very clever because he's just an actor. But I've proved this to myself. I used to do a regular journey from Peacehaven in Sussex down to the coast, and the horizon line drops. It's always at the center point of your eyes. And on a clear day in the summer at Worthing, I could see all 25 miles at I'm about 6 foot, so I bet I can still see the beach and I can see all the cliffs 25 miles away. The other direction on a clear day, you can see the Isle of Wight, and that's that alone disproves the thing. But I'd give them a bit more respect, or I'd give them the benefit of the doubt if they said, okay, we've got the maths wrong, the curvature is something else. But then you've also got too many other problems with this whole thing anyway, that all their arguments fall down.
Yeah, and also, you know, your picture, you said that person was 1 foot above the water. If he was 6 foot above the water, the horizon line would just go on longer. You know, we'd see a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it would go further along.
Yeah. But this is the beauty of what James was saying.
It's only 1 foot above the water.
The
You
R
also in
value.
the summer, a lot of people can test this for themselves. If you've got a fairly long straight road, you'll get that shimmer effect with the heat, and you get the distortion. So you get the false perspective of even a road vehicle. It's not obviously with anything out at sea. You've got the moisture, which is going to affect visibility at sea level.
Totally.
Unless it's a clear day.
But
Completely clear day.
There's still going to be a chance of something that's going to affect the visibility.
Yeah, so it's a bit annoying, isn't it? But carry on, madam, because I like this.
Well, the 5 point, as James alluded to, is the only place the ballers have got to go is go, well, the R value's not that then. And as I pointed out, the ridiculum of where it takes them to, but if you've got a baller who admits his R value is wrong, then everything else is wrong. All their maths and science, all their orbital calculations, everything's wrong. Remember that
I don't know if you saw it. We did it a long time ago. Artists looked up all this stuff because they do release NASA documents. They're like, we call them hard copy because they're documents. They're on the computer, but they're documents rather than it being typed in. You know, just typing. And in there, they constantly use the word flat, and then they turn everything into they turn it into something else afterwards.
The R values underpins everything. For example, the way in which all they had for solar observations was relationships, and the way in which they defined distance to the sun, the size of everything, was to take the R value and assume the same R value for Venus, so that when it transited the sun, they could then do some calculations because everything's assumed on R. So if you disprove R here, then the assumption that Venus has the same R value disproves all of the orbital mechanics. That's why it's so much fun to let them
Adam, they're only a few miles above our head.
Oh yeah, totally. I'm talking about in their presumptive world, everything they hang their maths on is hung on R. So if you get them to admit that their R could be wrong, then everything falls apart, you see. So it's a nice admission to make them have. I think it's a phrase from Mr. Sensible. At best, you've debunked the R value when presented with this, which is...
Yeah, it's people, isn't it? Because it's the people that need to wake up.
This is a great one, a great demonstration.
It's not even that. Listen, we're going in 3 different directions. One is anti-clockwise with the moon, and we're doing 1,000 miles at the equator. And the other 2, one was with the sun, and one's with the universe. And when you add up the speed, it's Mach 80 with the 3 speeds. And you're like, nah, and we don't feel a thing. We couldn't even survive Mach 1, let alone Mach 80.
Yeah.
It's all stupid, isn't it, when you think about it? And then people think that I'm crazy. How crazy do you think you're going Mach 80 and you can't feel it?
My sort of concern out of all of this is, okay, can't do it at the moment, but say I was in employment that took me all over the world. Well, I don't like the idea of being ripped off doing these unnecessary long flights that don't need to be done. Something that could probably be done in 4 hours that is now taking 12. It's just on that. It's that's without taking into account all this nonsense about the fuel in the wings of the planes, which is impossible on the mass of the fuel is not enough space. But it opens up the implications of what else are they ripping us off on out of all this
space.
No, I mean that affects our daily lives. How is it impacting us and what is it costing us that we shouldn't be paying for? Well, for a start, every country seems to have a space agency, and we don't get asked if we want some of our stoppages to go to fund these charades that they present us.
It's probably how they're paying us all the benefit money at the moment, is using that money.
I wish.
Sorry, Adam, you still there?
Yeah. I'm just saying, you don't get asked, do you,
No.
by government what you, particularly on funding that is kind of key to keeping you locked in a paradigm. The space programs are they're a must, aren't they? It's something for your nation to be proud of. You've been mugged into believing that, so that you maintain the belief of the vacuum of space and the heliocentric paradigm and the fact we're all random nothingness and that there's no need for God. That's the one.
Also,
Not
they are lying so immensely about space. And when they're lying to you, they're making you believe a reality. I mean, we all believed in space and going to the moon and all that crap. They make you believe something that's not real. So what they've done is they've taken you some of your freedom away because they're making you believe things that aren't real. So right at the beginning, I found this paused astronaut. It was Boeing and something else. They were going out about 2013. It could be 2014. And what it was is, it was just that bit, you know, like I was watching it. I might have been watching for an hour thinking, God, I'm bored. And then there it came. They were working away together, and then they panned around and did something. When they came back, one's floating around and the other one's stuck still. It's supposed to be a live feed, supposed to be together, and it was supposed to be on that day, but it wasn't. That's not real. It was all made for you. So once I realised that right at the beginning, and then you look into flat, and you just know they're lying about everything. But it is hard, isn't it? Because people have colours in their mind, like you're a Conservative or a Labour, or you're like Chelsea, or you're like Manchester United. You've got to get your mind out of all of that. You've got to let go of all of that, all of it, because it's all a lie. It's all a game. It's part of the game.
I've got a few. Well, there's about 5 questions I've got with all of this. If you can have an Antarctic treaty with 53 nations can all be in agreement. So why can't they all be in agreement with the rest of the world where the population is? To Russia, if we go by what they tell us through the Cold War, they're sort of like the enemy of the United States, and the United Kingdom isn't allied to the United States because of this special relationship. And yet there's 60 miles of the Bering Straits. If the United States and the Soviet Union wanted to have fight it out, why did it have to be across Europe and impact everybody else?
Because they love us living in fear that a nuclear war is going to happen.
And particularly in the UK, thanks to the European Union, we have this obsession with health and safety and risk assessment. So my question would be, these astronauts on this International Space Station, why are they having to go outside to do all these repairs, which they always manage to successfully do? How come now suddenly in this International Space Station you can have Russians and Americans working together quite happily?
Do you know what they're doing when they're outside? They're just adding another wire.
Well, where's the risk assessment? Because I'd have thought that would go off the graph. This thing's supposed to be spinning around it so fast. They've only got like one harness to hold to this thing. The chances of something going wrong must be extremely high. And
don't forget, their feet aren't on the whole thing. They've only got their toes on the edge of everything.
In the interest of their safety, I would raise concerns about let me see the data on the risk assessment on this ISS, if it was even real.
Cameras work brilliantly on it. They never see. Do you know what? If I did a video of a train, and it wasn't my video, but it was on, I could copy it. So it went up to like 500 kilometers an hour. And as it gets that, or 1,000, or whatever it was, no, 500 and something. But when it got to that speed, everything's like warp. It goes warp-like. That's what everything would be like. And we'd be going, when we looked up there, everything would be warping if we were moving.
It's a bit like the cameras that were used on the moon landing. This is where ballers want you to argue. You said earlier space, and I make no denial that between me and the stars there's a lot of space. It's the convincement that space is the air we're breathing, then that suddenly stops, and then there's a vacuum sat next to it without any containment. For me, when they start talking about space,
stupid, doesn't it?
Well, and that's why I wouldn't go into the wiring on the ISS, because the place in which the ISS is supposed to be is a second law of thermodynamics violation. It cannot exist. And I say on the debates, all we ask them is, please show us gas pressure without containment. And if you can do that, and that's the basic principle of their ball Earth, that you have gas pressure next to a vacuum of space with no containment. And to me, unless they can demonstrate, like I say, gas pressure without a container, then the medium in which they're suggesting all these things take place is false and against natural law.
I know. I've done so many videos on it, because basically it was Joe, actually, the one you said you like with the magic. It was his video. But what it was is he took the footage, and whenever they were upside down, he turned the camera the other way, so you're looking at the ones upside down, and then the ones that were the right way up, I don't know how they do it. They must split the screens somehow, but they're never upside down. They're just filming it the right way up and then sticking that bit of footage up, or them upside down. But I think they've got a much better way of doing cartoons, because that virtual reality. So you know the little felt set we had when we were a kid, and we had the little tractor and the animals, and we say, right, now we want the little chicken to come across here and take the food. That's the kind of thing they're doing in those footages. They're just adding things. No, we've got the ISS space station, right? Let's add the astronauts. It's like that. And I'll tell you what was it? I found out that one of the men was playing the women. It's on Sun and Moon. I can't remember their names now. I put it out last week. You know, he's a bald-headed bloke, but he plays one of the women. Oh my God! It's just like, oh.
One of the comebacks you'll often get is, well, people have sailed around the globe. Yeah, east and west. When has anybody ever gone either directly north and directly south and come back, gone round the other side and come back?
Yeah, and not just that. Do you know something else I thought? You know this bit when James is saying the Bering Straits, why don't they just kill each other at source? Alaska and the Bering and Russia can just go for it.
Yeah, they're only 60 miles apart. Why
Yeah.
involve France,
the whole
Germany,
world. Although
Poland
Putin's gone quite quiet at the moment. But what it is they both say in documents that they, like, who was it? It was, what country was it? Can't remember which one it was now. Was selling Canada back to Canada, and they were talking about the fact that they could see each other, see Russia over the water, but Russia gets a better view, so Russia must be higher. You know, it must be lower in Canada, and there's mountains there.
That's still 60 miles, which breaks.
They're not looking at each other. They're not looking at each other. They're both saying they can see land. So maybe this land that we think that we have is much closer. It's almost in our realm, because we can see it either end of Russia, and we can see either end of America, you know, Alaska. They can see land, but it's not quite in our realm, because we don't go to those places. We have to go all the way across us to go to Russia. You know, like America has to go all the way across us to get there. And people don't even work that one out. Why would you always be going? You get a flat map out with the countries on, and all the flights are going that way.
That's the other thing. They're on flight paths, so there could be lots of other land masses, maybe in the Atlantic and the Pacific, and no one's ever going to know about them, because who can actually go there and verify any of this?
Yeah.
The North, I think, is just as much the same. The flight paths are very limited. You'd think that.
I think, you know, they wanted to make us go to the south, don't they? But I think it's the north we need to go to.
I think there's if you look at old maps, etc., there's a lot more evidence of the amount of lies, even the alignments of and magic disappearing islands, and never mind, you know, the central supposed landmass, as you see.
Gillian has noticed that the equator is not in the middle. You know, as you watch a globe, you just assume that equator goes around the middle, but it doesn't. It's like 2/3 of all the land. Sorry, most of the land's in the north. 2/3. It's like the equator's 2/3 down, and she's in that last third. It's really weird, because obviously she's in Australia, and she does everything she wants to look up. It's only done in the Western world. You know, it's very hard to find the Southern Hemisphere information. But it's all it's just all crazy. We live in some weird realm, some magic weird realm. Because as you're traveling, it's like being in a Mario game. The land comes up in front of you like a game. And if you didn't know, you couldn't see it, you don't know it's there, do you? If you know what I mean.
Well, there's two more visual perspectives that you can verify for yourself. If you're on a train and you look out the side window, the things closest to you are going by very fast. The things in the distance are hardly moving. So the relationship between the closer objects and the objects that are further away vary. But so why is it every constellation stays exactly the same shape? They come in year in, year out. We don't get any new constellations. It's only the same 88. So that is another question they can't answer.
Parallax, yeah.
Yeah, that's the word. Yeah, and then if we were on this, if there's this curvature, well, as far as I know, light travels in a straight line. So shouldn't there be a point when the sun is setting that the entire underside of all the clouds should be lighting up?
Well, you do get underlighting, but it's more perspective based, and you can demonstrate that you can light something underneath something far away that's higher than it. I think P-Brain YouTube channel does some good demonstrations with that. That's because one of the baller arguments that if you get some illumination, but it is demonstrable with perspective that it does occur. So yeah.
I think what it is I think it's really sad because we grew up with it, but we believed that television coming in, we believed the systems were put in. But when you wake up, you realise it's all a lie. The person who made this all up must have been a genius.
Oh, lots of them, and it's a pretty proud. It's not depressing for me though. This is just beautiful because instead of it, like I say, the model we believed, certainly for most of my formative years, was one that makes you reject God, a creator. And I'm not talking any denomination. So for me now, seeing that it's not randomness of the explosion of a star fall, and I'm just as Sabine or whatever, or these NASA scientists say I'm basically an intelligent rock. To know that I am something more is fantastic, and to not know what's out there, what it is, what those twinkly lights in the sky are, where I don't necessarily keep going around in circles. There may be other lands, there may not be, but definitively I'm created. Yeah. I'm here for a purpose. I have a reason for being, and yeah, I'm happy with that. That Flat Earth has given me that realization or confirmed it.
Can I ask you something? Not being horrible. Is your wife a flat earther? Is she into all this stuff?
No, not really.
No, my family treat me as if I'm a leper, and I have such good friends, but my family and those friends, the old friends, are the same. I just don't speak to them anymore.
No, well, all my mates, they'll still ask. I mean, most of them, they haven't got an argument, so it's just there's no loss of friendship. The only friends I've ever lost in this journey on Flat Earth have been flat earthers. So you know what I mean. But none of my friends before I became a flat earther. I mean, I was a little conspiratorial, and that, and so were my mates. So I've never.
Do you know why that is with the flat earthers? Because they think they know everything, and they don't realise you've always got to, as a person who's woken up, you've just got to have an open mind to it all. Like, I don't mean, because obviously we now disbelieving certain things, but just keep an open mind because you don't know everything, and more information comes. James has taught me stuff. You're always learning. We're always learning. Like how you started to where you are now. Look at the information you're talking about. Those people won't get what you're talking about. Well, maybe they will, but you know what I mean. You're more detailed. We need people. We need it all. We're a community.
Yeah, and that's the good thing. We are such a diverse community with so many different skills. All of us, you know what I mean. We've all got different bits that we bring to the community, and that's the fun, and probably a good link for the second tune, if that's all right, because I'm going to have to go and take the dog a walk in a bit.
Oh, you want to end our talk, do you?
Well, not yet, but just I will have to soon because the dog will start crabbing and don't like to take it when it's dark. Can't wait
That's
for the
okay.
summer.
We'll talk for another 10, 15 minutes. It's actually your hangout, even though we've been speaking.
Yeah.
Go on then. You've got the last 10, 15 minutes. It's all yours, Adam.
Well, there's pressure. There was one. There was one that I did want to mention. James was saying. He was down in Worthing. So that's some of the other stuff I've been doing. I've started to put together Dr. John Dees, who's done all the experiments down from Worthing and Brighton. The
Right.
experiment.
Is that the one where you're doing it from Shoreham to Brighton?
Yeah, he did all those. I mean, that's a couple of years ago now. But John's gotten a little bit more theological, and also. He said there's some of us, he's a PhD in spectrochocoloscopy or spectrophotometry, a real clever bloke, and he's just going back over all of the old assumptions like we do, but even further to analysing all of the Newtonian mechanics and even our definitions of energy, and that in of itself is interesting. So
yeah, because like James was telling me the other day, this table is dark energy.
Which it's the way that something that is more solid is described. The point I just wanted to raise here. I think it might have been a couple of years back now. I made a video and I thought, let's try and bring all the theories back together and stop all these sort of arguments. I'd seen so many on Facebook in different groups, this mudslinging. So what I suggested was we're on like a giant eyeball and we're actually on the iris part of it. So the lens of the eye is like the firmament, the dome. Because the research that's actually gone to what is below our feet is absolutely minimal. And interestingly, the only people that I got derogatory comments from was the people who claim to be members of the Flat Earth Society, who were very keen to say that they're nothing to do with flat earthers, which I thought was rather bizarre. But when we have this clear and present danger that is impacting all our lives at the moment, this assault on small businesses, this restriction of freedom, this censorship, this biological experiment that is being rolled out unknowingly on humanity, I think that's a far more pressing problem to deal with. This is all very interesting, and it's when you realise that you've been lied to your entire life, it's like, well, where else do we look? And it's the spiritual, like you're saying about we're part of something by design. We're here for a purpose. We are co-creators. We're the creator having a personified experience, or for the creator to work through. So this is the thing that they're really hiding, that we do have the ability to create from our imagination, which can, or well, does manifest into this reality. If you take, as an analogy, if you take an idea and then how it turns into a physical building, that's what they're really hiding.
Hello.
Yeah, that was a
He's
bit.
finished now.
Yeah, sorry.
He's finished now.
Profound. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I can't speak definitively to why we're here. Whatever I say, for me, just the assurance that it's not just a random coincidence of no purpose is sufficient.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's like, Adam? It's almost like, when you've watched Blade Runners and they're like cyborg things, they've got plasma in their veins, which we have. We're almost like living cyborgs. That's what they've made us. That's what it is here. It's horrible to realise that we're just here to be slaves.
Well, the physical body is just the carrier of the soul. The eternal spiritual part of us that doesn't have a physical form resides inside us. I mean, go to a doctor and ask him to show you where the soul is in the body, and they can't do it. And doctors can be some of the worst.
It's right in the middle of your eye, I think. It's in there.
they're some of the worst when they're presented with someone who's gone against all odds from their perspective of coming from the medicine route, that this person shouldn't be alive now, and they're presented with someone who's overcome something and look, he's living proof, and they're saying that's not possible. It's no wonder that the general public on something about the fact that we've been lied to about so much. That's why they're in so much denial, because I mean even the professionals do it, because their training is based on a foundation of sound. They haven't got a solid platform on which they've built all their experience. And the higher you go up, say into university professor grade, they're not going to take kindly to being told that they've been lied to, and that all their years of dedication and getting all these accolades is built on nothing, and they're actually really incredibly stupid people.
I remember when Flat Earth Dude was talking to one, and basically they were asking him these questions, and he just said, well, we go up there, we go round it, we look at it, and then we come back and that. And they didn't have any answers. I was so shocked. These people that, oh, look at all these people. We look up to them. Look, they've got books. Actually, they don't really have anything to say and have nothing to fall back on. They just don't. It's really quite boring. Yeah, like they don't even have any answers. It's all theory.
Well, my experience of this is it's like scales. You've got people who are very heavily towards common sense, and you've got people who have an ability to retain facts and figures that they've learned, and then they can repeat. And certainly in the university, they lean very much in the latter direction, whereas the rest of us probably lean more towards the common sense and just looking at things with and pointing out the obvious.
That's the skew of modern education.
Yeah.
From that critical thinking, trying to analyze and think for yourself with knowledge, to repetition of, in many cases, it kind of irrelevant facts, irrelevant details. And that's what gets the marks, rather than the comprehension.
It's all about, well, they've confused being good with being obedient. And well, it's the subtle levels. You're taught to compete against each other right from the word go. The more obedient you are, the more likely you are to get a gold star. If you get something wrong, you're the worst one. And then there was a time when you were sort of humiliated in front of your peers and made to wear a dunce hat. So, and it's no better now, really. It's just done a more subtle level, I think.
Yeah. He's finished now.
Yeah, sorry.
Well, and a degradation of standards over time as well. That's the other thing that's applicable to modern education.
I think it's that thing about thinking, isn't it? They don't want us to think. They just want us to look at the television and go, "Oh yeah, look, we're blue. Oh yeah, look, we've been to space. Oh yeah, look, we're in this war. Oh yeah, look, we're in an impeachment."
Well, they've been doing this a lot longer. I mean, I think it's 1929 RCA Pictures. They had this little sort of monoplane going around a ball, or on Universal, I think I'm thinking of actually. But every film started, so that idea was being implanted right back then.
Yeah, and the shocking thing, Adam, I found, it was someone else's channel, was that Bing Crosby played Hitler. In fact, Gene Kelly is Dean Martin. And all that, and I'm like, oh my God. So they haven't been doing it to us for 5 minutes, they've been doing it to us for a long time.
Oh, I can relate, yeah. I mean, that's part of the fun for them, isn't it?
And then, do you know what? Did you see that, like a picture in Facebook? It actually was, somebody said they'd taken some stones off this building and behind it was all these pillars. So maybe they haven't actually destroyed all our Tartaria or whatever these buildings are. They've actually just covered them up with brick.
Well, they're called facades. The buildings are basically wearing masks. That's nothing new, is it?
No.
I mean, if you think about it, they're always talking about Heathrow needs to be rebuilt, but because it's so busy, they can never do it. So all they've done, their version of bringing something from the spiritual into the physical reality. It's no longer the airways of the sky that are congested. They're actually putting it on people's faces, so their airways are congested.
Yeah. Anyway, they don't have to worry about building Heathrow right now because there's not really any planes flying, is there?
Everybody's stranded. It's unless you're a YouTuber, they seem allowed to fly around to places to do glamour
Yeah,
videos.
I've flown over to you.
Hmm?
I've flown over to you.
Lost.
Well, you said that it's through. I thought you meant
No,
connecting.
you'll see. There's been a bit of. I've not seen anybody allowed to go anywhere. Do you know what I mean? I can't go on holiday. The thought of it. Do you know what I mean? I was being flippant.
Well, it's really weird because if you go to YouTube, sometimes you can see adverts advertising holidays, and you think, where? You can't go anywhere.
Well, I think you have to have something more than a passport stuck in your arm to be able to go on that holiday. So it's another.
I think too many people were waking up. Then they
subtle
brought this
approach.
pandemic, and it just changed. You know, most people might say those ones were waking up. They're going to forget now, and then get stuck into this new soap opera called Pandemic. Don't you find that disheartening? You know, you just want to get on with life. I told people, just don't worry about it. Just get on with your life. I mean, I went out with Marie Wheatley a few weeks ago. We went to do some methallific hunting and stuff like that. You just got to try and get on with things.
In 3 weeks, you're allowed to go and have a cup of coffee with someone, aren't you?
Woo!
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I just don't think our economies. That's the bit that. And also, something else, because obviously I haven't spoken to you for a while. I was looking at. I wanted to go and see because everybody said that the police made an allegiance to you. Well, it's not true. They make the allegiance to the Queen. They just it says in their human rights. So they've got that bit in there. Everybody makes allegiance to the Queen. You know, it's Canada, New Zealand, Australia, England.
Politicians.
She owns so many countries, the Falklands, Bermuda. Then she's got the Commonwealth. Then she still owns India. And I know we've got our hand in with Russia. But only leaves China. But China had this great big UN World Games, which they all went to, which is this program about it, which is all a cartoon. But people in China don't even know it happened. But you know what I mean? It's all just a game. It's all a game. They're all in it together.
China got wrapped up and has been part of the cabal's control since, I think, the Opium Wars. I think that was the demolishment of that ex-civilization, and from that point on was the point, I think, when the controllers under the guise of East India Company installed there.
You know, also I've noticed there's two things. One, we've been talking to someone recently who actually is in China, and he says, what's the problem? It's not like that here. It's just propaganda, probably. It's all propaganda, making us hate these countries because then they can keep their thumb on everybody. Oh gosh, the Chinese are coming, you know, to keep us all in fear. And the other thing is that I noticed that, I don't understand this, Russia owned a lot more of China. And for some reason, they've given it up. Because they did. I made a video about it. It's on Sun and Moon. It might be on Unscrambled as well. Basically, I can't remember the town now. But they owned miles into China. And we found a map the other day that China wasn't as big. But for some reason, without a war, well, there was some wars, but they've seemed to have given back China a great big piece of land. And now China's grown. It's all bizarre. It brought me the hussars. It brought me things that I never thought I'd be looking into. Like, we're all poor, we've got no money, but there's thousands of uniforms made for all these wars. And you think, if we had no money, why have they got all these uniforms? And then I've been looking in at the kings and things. And George Washington was King George. And it's just, America's a corporation, and it just goes on. I never, you know, we can all watch everybody else's videos, but when you do your own research, like you have, Adam, then you know, don't you? You just see it so differently.
Yeah, I think that's where a lot of us flat earthers, because there's not much more to demonstrate. It's not a spinning ball. So in terms of researching and stuff, pleasure. So, you know, I think Mudflood and alternate history, and kind of seeing that, because again, it links to where they incorporated the ball. Where they brought it in, sort of thing. But I have a lot of fun watching that. Watching Martin's an old friend as well. Martin Leaker, his stuff, and
Martin.
Yeah, should get Martin on.
Well, yeah, he's busy doing his book at the moment. I have been trying. Nudge him for me.
I'll give him a shout for you.
Say Karen's been asking.
Well, to be fair, I think he's had a few problems because I think he had to get out of Cardiff, and he was, I think, he was staying down in Devon in house sitting. Reading between the lines from what he was saying, so he may have sort of ongoing problems at the moment.
Mm.
I'll send him a Skype. Don't worry, Karen. No, cool. No.
Thank you for that, Adam.
He's a good lad.
Yeah.
I love his
Are you into Tartaria and all that and mud flooding?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've always been into, even before Flat Earth, I was into that. Big reader of Fomenko's chronology, so I read, I think, the first 2.5 volumes back in the day when they first came out. So yeah, I've always been interested in that because. Yeah.
Do you know what I think? I think, and it could have been the earlier one rather than the later one, because I think we've had a couple of floods. It seems that on a map I've seen, it's researched with series from years ago. You can see behind Russia, you've got Greenland, and then you've got Antarctica. That's all ice. Well, so they're saying. And then there's nothing behind Russia. There's like a shelf that's missing. And then if it melted or something happened with water, I think that water came past us because there was Doggerland, and we used to be twice the size we were almost. And we've lost a lot of land on the UK. Imagine all that flooding or mud, that mud moving. This is what's caused all the. But those buildings must have been from the 1600s then. It's like, it's hard to get your head around, you think, or however long ago that was. You know, we're calling the 1600s. Because we don't know, do we? And, you know, even Rome, all these things, they're changing. They're not thousands of years ago. It's all quite relevant. I mean, we only turned into a country in the 1920s. And that's the time when Tartaria was ending and the Queen was taking over the Commonwealth. And then when you look at it, you've got Tartaria, which they're saying is all over Asia, but we had our hand in it all. We ruled most of the world. So something big happened here. And then they're saying, actually, when you look at the old Mason books, America was Egypt. And it goes on and you're just like, what? Everything keeps changing all the time. I think that's why you have to keep an open mind.
There's lots of switching of place names, movement, Rome, you know, all throughout history. That's.
I mean, do you know what Greece was called?
What, the Hellenes? Or?
Yeah, but do you know what? Has that ever really figured in your life? I mean, I didn't realise it's only since 1940s that they were called Greece. Before that, they were the Hellenes.
Yeah, and they're a kind of made-up nation anyway. They were always part of the Turkish Empire, other than the historical Greece.
Not just that, Irish as well. This whole people that come together, they all went out to Ireland and here, but they all come from this one, and they're like, Ireland.
But they're a British invention, aren't they, or an imperial invention? So that whole area was decimated, wasn't it? So during the Napoleonics, they kind of encourage all these separatists, and that then forms into the Hellenes. But it's even the introduction of the Greek language and all that, it's encouraged and supported, particularly by the Germans, I think. So it's almost like all that time they're making countries, aren't they? Italy doesn't form until
was it anything with a stan on it?
Yeah, seems to be
Turkestan. They're all sort of new ones. Or Israel.
All of those, they're colonial alignments. So there's all those areas, but the partition is a bit like the Middle East as well, isn't it? It's all done under colonial decisions, isn't it? So you see that rewriting of history and carving up of land, which kind of delineates all the old history. And if you kept the old
the wars happened, so they destroy some of these buildings. That's why the First and Second World War happened, because they wanted to, it was just destroying all these old buildings so that we wouldn't work out how big this thing was, this Tartaria and the buildings and the pillars and whatever age that is, but we wouldn't realise, you know, if there's more. Like there was a soundproof building in New York. Martin was talking about it, and then they knocked that down, and you're like, oh, it's just, you know, they've gone before you even realise they were there.
Well, there's big resets, isn't there? And then there's all the things that they do throughout his story that we can attest to, or our family can attest to, that are things that change. They're like with wars, etc. But then they'll have the big resets. Like I think you alluded to one, turn of the century, 1900, I think it's one, but early 18th century. I think there's lots, isn't there, that we can.
Well, it depends on what they told the people, isn't it? Really, at the time, they can, through the television, they can say we're going to war.
Well,
they can say all these things,
that's the Orwellian thing, isn't it? Today we're at peace with the West, and now we're
but
with
what people don't realise, Adam, is we closed down overnight without one soldier and one police officer, because we're, even if most people out there are narcissists, because they are, they haven't. We didn't need one soldier or one police officer, but we're always fighting and at war. It's just most incredible, because we're not always killing each other. It's just a lie. It's just to make you live in this, that you're always living in fear.
It highlights what happened last March, highlights just how much influence the media is, because this thing has become a reality purely because people believe it, and it's reinforced all these signs everywhere, all the subtle levels when you're in a supermarket of our staff are working hard to keep you safe, implying that you're always in danger. So it's a reinforcement, that whole thing, that famous Goebbels quote about, if a lie is told often enough, it becomes the truth.
Fear and confusion make the population.
Yeah. Gary explained something to me. Do you know Gary? I can't remember his surname. Bald Gary up in London. Anyway, his sister just cannot believe it, because he said they're really nice people, but they would never treat people like that. So they cannot believe that people would lie to them like that. So that's one problem. A lot of people won't believe it, because in their mind they think, well, I wouldn't treat people like that. And they can't believe that something you're voting for is going to treat you like that. Just because they had wars in other countries, we're just collateral to them all along. They don't see us as human beings. They just see us as collateral. They don't care how many of us they kill. Don't. Did you ever think that you would be here for this bit?
Don't know what this bit is, if I'm honest. If you know what I mean. But did I ever think society would be this messed up? No.
No, it's quite incredible, isn't it?
I think go back 10 years and somebody suggested that life would be like this. You'd laugh, wouldn't you? Waking
up isn't exactly easy, is it? Because, I think, the 80s and the 90s, and you bring the records up and you can remember things, and you think, oh yeah, life was so much more simple then.
No, but we were in that world that they created then, and as James says, I'd sooner be here now than living in that world of fear.
You can't go back, can you? You can't go back and pretend it's something else now when you know it's something different. You can't.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to be there. I wouldn't want to be Cypher in the Matrix.
No, because you've changed as a person, haven't you, probably, as well?
Yeah. Don't want to go back and eat steak. Yeah.
You can't, though, can you? You can't go back and then pretend. Well, you can if you want to, but I can't. I don't even really like going out anymore, because it's not that I don't like out there. I used to be such a social butterfly, my time, parties, social clubs, whatever I was doing. But when I go out there, there's all of them. I don't really want to be around them. I know that sounds a bit defeatist, but, in this thing, you can really see how people have been in this thing. Like I went into a shop without a, what on, and I showed her my little sign to say I don't have to wear one. And then she was going, but people are frightened of you. You need to put one around your neck. I said, if I don't need to wear one, I'm not going to have one around my neck, am I? So, it's just some of the things, and it wouldn't matter how many times I told her it's not real. She's not going to believe me. So I don't want to be around all these people.
To be honest, the shop staff are caught between the devil and the deep blue sea, because even if they do see it, it's been shown what happens to doctors and nurses if they speak out. They're threatened with losing their job, and then they're in a problem. They've got the problem of they've got no income. They've got families to support. So I think there's a lot more professionals or people who are working for these corporations who can see that what is going on is a farce, but they they've been made to feel that they're on their own, and what can little me do against the whole of the world, as it were. Because nobody wants to feel isolated and alone, although they are obviously making you feel isolated and alone. But in the workplace, that's a very difficult area.
Hmm. Do you go into work, or you just work from home, Adam?
No, I'm at work every day.
What's it like at work? Do people know where you work?
Yeah. I have flat earth leaflets on the counter.
Good boy.
I always have, mate. So
Do you know,
I've never
I've
been
got some
afraid
in
of
my pocket, to be
raising.
honest. In this coat, I've got flat earth leaflets, that everybody hands out. I've got a whack of them in my pocket.
Wait, I'm not sure where I got them
But
from.
you know what? My place, right? I like talking to those that are awake. I mean, Marie Wheatley, for instance, she's lovely. She's a friend of mine now. She's a dowser and an archaeologist, and she knows things are not right with the Lyra. She knows other things, but she's not a flat earther. But it doesn't matter. That doesn't matter. We get on really well. There's a lot of things we do get on well with. So I just I've even forgotten what I was talking about now.
Tell her ley lines make more sense on a flat earth.
But she says a lot of those are man-made, the ley lines.
Make a lot more sense on a flat earth than they do on a.
I think the saddest thing, it's hard for us to think that, but there's two things. Our grandparents are probably growing vegetables, but we go to the plastic supermarket. It's not even that long ago that things have drastically changed. I'm not saying everything's bad. I go to the plastic supermarket, but really we should be growing our own vegetables. We've almost forgotten how to do that.
It seems ridiculous when we've got green beans coming from Kenya, apples coming from New Zealand, and it's like, hang on a minute, shouldn't we be able to grow these things in the UK? There's also such a thing as seasonal veg. Now it seems they've conditioned everybody to expect to have Brussels sprouts all year round, where you'd only get them in sort of December time. So the whole way of life has changed, and it's become so sort of dependent on corporation supermarkets, where everything is in plastic. It's all for long shelf life and maximum profit. It's definitely not for goodness. As an example, when they label something as free range chickens, that all that means, as far as the industry is concerned, is they've let these things out for about 10 minutes before they're culled. The other sneaky thing they do is to move something out of the ingredients that's harmful and say it's part of the production process, so it doesn't appear on the list of ingredients. So they're very crafty with the way they do things. The only honest part about the UK is you have a thing called the Federation of British Supermarkets, and the initials are FOBS, which is actually honest.
You can. I mean, we try our best. I go to the butcher for the meat. Eggs. I've got chickens.
They told us not to go there originally because they had the second-rate meat. That's because my husband was a farmer, and he noticed that the supermarkets began to run things that they were the ones calling the shots. Like the meat had to be a certain way because the supermarkets wanted them, and then the butchers used to get the second lower meat. And so people, I don't want to go to the butcher then. I want the best meat. So it's just how they do things. They're just evil.
I think it's better quality from the butcher. So, but
and if it's a local, good for you.
We said it earlier. Shop local and try and keep things local.
Yeah, and that's the other bit that worries me is because, we don't, I know we export stuff, but we import most of our stuff. So if there's any problems, especially when they were stopping the ferry people going back at Christmas, it affects here because they say we import everything.
Well, if I could interject on that, I used to drive trucks to Felixstowe docks, and 99 out of every 100 containers was carrying just fresh air. or stale air in the container. The only things that were being exported was sugar, scrap paper, which was then pulped and sent back over, and pieces of infrastructure of factories and things that have been shut down in the UK and been exported abroad. There was very little export of anything. Nearly every container I took back to the docks was always empty. So everything is coming inward. It's very much one-way traffic.
That's what I'm saying. So if they close the ports down, then we're stuffed.
Well, it was noticeable in about the year 2000. The US economy took a sort of nosedive, and the port went very quiet. It was quite apparent how interdependent they've made every nation. Also, that way you can't have the solidarity of people in the UK and, okay, the UK will go it alone. No, because they've made things, even car manufacture, the bearings come from France, but the steel comes from here, which is sent to France to come back. And this is a repeat pattern with everything. So the system has sort of locked nations so they're interdependent and they can't function alone as well. So the problem is far bigger than most people even realise.
He's finished now.
Yeah.
No, it's a good point. If society ended tomorrow and your iPhone battery went, how could you make a new one?
Yeah. Well, I mean, what I would say, as much as possible when people go out, leave the mobile phone at home so you can't be tracked, because if it's down to a case of, well, I need my mobile phone in case I break down, well, what about before the days of mobile phones? We seem to manage all right back then. Try and do everything by cash, because all this track and trace is all part of this. As I understand it, even the chips on these cash point cards have got some way they can actually track you as well. So don't make it easy for this system. Make them work for their money, I'd say.
Yeah. Yes. Then they won't be able to beat your little meme. It's not actually showing on the computer. I can see it on my phone, but they can't beat your meme, can they?
Which meme?
The black swans.
Oh, sorry, Martin. Yeah. No, well, they're not gonna, for coming back to flat Earth. No, that is there, and I say we hold them to their claim. You know, it's a logical syllogism, modus tollens of their claim. It's their ball.
We've been going for nearly an hour and a half. It's starting to get dark, so I don't know if you want to.
Get the dog.
Adam, we'll say goodbye off air, but we'll say goodbye for the hangout.
Wasn't you doing another?
Yeah.
Oh, you're doing another song.
One tune to play you out with then, before I go, which is Chocolate's latest release. That sounds really professional.
Okay, what we'll do is we'll say goodbye, but we're going to play the record. But we'll say goodbye after we've turned the thing off.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Right.
Brilliant. Here we go again. More music.
Yeah.
All right, and next tune. Bear with me. That one. And I had to leave the sound on for some reason, didn't I? So
We see your. That's it.
You got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So this is Chocolate's next tune, which is called "What Is the World." Okay.
What is the world? What is the world that we're living in? Now that we know we're not spinning. What is the world? What is the world that we're living in? Now we know purpose is missing. What is the world? What is the world that we're living in? Now we know flat earth is winning. What is the world? What is the world that we're living in? It's like a brand new beginning. We know that most of y'all sitting there wishing, probably just itching for us to go away, completely dismissing things that we say like our minds have gone missing. Meanwhile, you're really the only one shifting reality as if it was switching, like it was some type of fantasy pitching. And accepted that, but you mind, you're just whiffing. Nothing but air, you just can't do no hitting. Running around saying that water's sticking to outside the walls, your logic is slipping. I understand that you might think I'm tripping. Pay attention to the words that I'm spitting. Only thing that really needs any fixing, your view of the world and the way that you're thinking. No need to go always screaming and kicking. No reason to think that Earth might be tricking. If it was spinning, then we would see drifting. If it was curving, the ship should be sinking. Logical fallacy, keep on insisting. Probably just listen. How about you try some form of consistence? Ship disappeared due to angular distance. Makes a lot more sense that the curve's not existence. Why the persistence? Why the pursuit of relentless persistence? Fighting a war like a soldier enlisted. Really seems as though you got it all twisted. Why not just be a bit more optimistic? Lies you've been told, the veil has been lifted. Now you've been gifted, given permission to take a position. Not in opposition to the world that we live in. Create ignition, start with the ancient. Choose to accept it now, this is your mission. Tell us why the damn curvature's missing. Maybe just call up the mathematician. Give him a listen. Have him tell you about his reasoning positions. Talking about how it's not superstition. A vacuum in air pressure juxtaposition. Make a decision. Tell us how this model came to fruition. You have the right to enact your volition right up to the day of material acquisition. All I can do is provide ammunition. You can't take the east, stay the fuck out the kitchen. Judgment day or to the last demolition. You can see this is an act of attrition. On the condition that after admission, do you a favor and start to forgive it. Then go out and share your newfound position with everybody who's potentially victim. Falling for the global prisoner system. So many flaws, no one man can list them. Shout to my beautiful parents, I missed them. Taught me to think for myself, I can kiss them. Not to the day that I'm able to whisk them away in my arms and will resist them. Yeah.
Yay, thank you, Adam. Thank you so much for playing that.
Pleasure, mate. Pleasure. And thank you for having me. It's been fun.
Oh, I'm glad. Oh, it's been really nice. We haven't spoken in ages. So, Adam, James, chat room. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
God bless everyone. Yeah. Good night.